Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your MC for the day, Dominic Gaubebe.
Welcome to the third annual Absa BusinessDay Supplier Development Awards, presented in partnership with Cold Press Media, Vitola, and Arena Events. The Supplier Development Awards aim to achieve three things: to acknowledge and recognize corporates who go beyond the scorecard, to learn from them and foster best practice, and to encourage a collaborative spirit in industry. And now we introduce the BusinessDay editor, Lukhanyo Myanda.
Good day and welcome to our latest Absa BusinessDay Supplier Development Awards. And thank you to Absa for partnering with BusinessDay. This is the third time that I'm giving this address. I would never have imagined the conditions under which I would be making it this year. While it's a great pity that we are not able to be together in person, the fact that we are doing this at all is a testament to the power of innovation and ability to innovate. It's been about 6 months since the country first went into lockdown, disrupting our working and social lives. We have plenty of time to digest all that bad news as far as the economy is concerned. By some estimates, GDP might contract by 10% or more, putting massive pressure on the government's budget deficit, which may jump to more than 15% this year. Businesses across the country have taken a battering. Tourism alone is down about 95% year on year. And that is a sector that was the brightest spot in our economy before COVID, accounting for almost 9% of GDP and supporting more than 1.5 million jobs. There have been way too many reports about the impact on SMEs for me to list them here. On top of being forced to close, they've struggled to access help, whether through the UIF or such measures such as the government's loan guarantee scheme. With government so stretched and unable to offer much more help to our businesses, the role of the bigger companies in supporting the smaller ones that supply them with services and products has never been more crucial. Lives literally depend on it. Your active involvement in not just buying from our smaller businesses, but helping them to develop strategies for sustainability will be crucial to help our society recover from this. On behalf of BusinessDay, I want to thank you all for your efforts and congratulations to the winners. Thank you.
Thank you, Lukhanyo. Thank you to Absa for their headline partnership on this program for the third year in a row. Now introducing the Chief Procurement Officer of Absa, Vusi Fele.
The importance of supply development, particularly in the current South African socio-economic context, cannot be underestimated. At Absa, we are truly proud to be a partner of the Absa BusinessDay Supplier Development Awards, which recognize and honor some of the country's leading champions, both individuals and corporates. We believe that opening up opportunities for SMEs to access corporate supply and delivery chains is one of the most efficient and consistent ways in which established corporates can contribute to a sustainable entrepreneurship development. Absa has designed innovative financing solutions specifically aimed at the SME sector. For an example, in 2019 alone, we made available about 250 million in funding specifically for the benefit of SMEs in South Africa that supply the organization with goods and services. Through such provisions, qualifying SMEs suppliers in the bank supply chain are automatically eligible for assistance with cash flow finance at favorable interest rates and with no collateral required. Business development support, including business assessment, training, mentoring, advisory, and information is also key to enabling SMEs to become stronger business of the future. For an example, in 2019 also, Absa spent about 50% of its procurement spend annually with SMEs and 35% of that with qualifying women-owned businesses. So what I mean there is SMEs, when they interact with large corporates, they are compelled to make changes to increase efficiencies. Being part of the corporate supply chain also improves access to information and demands technical proficiency. There is no doubt, therefore, that supporting entrepreneurship through corporate supply chains delivers material benefits to local economic development and transformation and is therefore good business. The business landscape will be very different post-COVID-19, whenever that may be, for everyone, from major corporates to informal sector. The unprecedented disruption to entire industries means we have to imagine and build a future which is far more resilient and adaptable. Key to a prosperous and sustainable future will be the small, medium, and micro enterprises, particularly in South Africa, and the role of major corporates in helping to guide, support, and shape this vital segment. According to the World Bank, formal SMMEs make up 40% of the GDP in emerging economies, and this number is significantly higher when informal SMMEs are factored in. Opening up opportunities for SMEs to access corporate supply chains is one of the most effective ways to contribute to sustainable entrepreneurship development. This is more so now during the ongoing economic downturn, caused among others by the COVID-19 pandemic. In times like this, SMMEs are critical in supporting the value chains of the mainstream economy, helping to drive the economic revival post these disruptive shocks caused by this pandemic, helping to absorb or shore up a portion of the huge number of the jobs that are lost through bigger corporates due to the self-preservation and survivalist stance adopted by the mainstream corporates. The ongoing global crisis wrought by the pandemic has forced each of the supply development value partners, the supply chain practitioners, the business strategists, and the economic development policy technocrats to think and act differently, respond effectively, and build agile yet sustainable programs going forward. SMMEs equally have a lot of soul-searching to do in order to be co-creators of solutions and for them to remain relevant and participate constructively in economic rebuilding programs. Even before the outbreak of the global pandemic, SMMEs faced numerous challenges, including access to finance, access to domestic and international markets, limited financial and business management skills, stunted innovation, and sometimes tougher regulatory environments. Therefore, SMEs will continue to grapple with these challenges. While it may not be possible for corporates to solve all these challenges, there is room for them to provide solutions that will significantly impact SMEs and the development on the continent. Small businesses frequently lament their lack of access to credible markets. Large corporates, which spend billions annually procuring products and services, can use their procurement budgets to help SMEs in this regard. Corporates are rightly wary of the risk associated with engaging SMEs, from issues around quality, capacity constraints, and the inability to deliver on contracts. But the development of the African economy demands that corporates get involved to address and work through these challenges. Investing in entrepreneurship can no longer be viewed as corporate responsibility. It also far transcends compliance to government mandates. Meaningful entrepreneurship support through supply chains deliver material benefits to local economic and social reform and should therefore be seen as good business. We hope, therefore, that these awards will go a long way towards the realization of the full benefits that efficient and well-functioning supply chains can deliver to our society. I thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Vusi. We now welcome keynote speaker Ian Russell, who's a business leadership expert. Our generation will be defined by the events of late 2019 and early 2020. In many businesses' minds, there's now a new date system at work. Before COVID-19, BC, and after COVID-19, AC. The advice you'll offer today is not from a textbook. It's not fresh out of HBR case study. It is not third-party wisdom repackaged. What follows will be his thoughts and battle-hardened learnings from managing multiple responses to the COVID-19 crisis, and some of the things that seem to work.
The opening words of L.P. Hartley's The Go-Between are, "The past is a foreign country. They do things differently there." And during the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to unpack why the past really is a foreign country and what it means for small businesses within the South African economy. For you see, there was something called BC, before Corona. And then there is AC, after Corona. And the reality is that the impact of this virus on our lives will mean that the past will be a foreign country and things moving forwards will never, ever be the same again. And the sooner that we appreciate and embrace that reality, the sooner we can move on with our lives and understand how we adapt and survive in the new world ahead of us. I've used this slide a number of times in the past. What has really accelerated transformation? What has really accelerated a different trajectory for your business, for the economy, for the way in which we think and behave? Was it your board? Was it your CEO? Was it your customers? And the reality, ladies and gentlemen, is it's the coronavirus that had more impact than anything else that I can remember in the last 30 years in business, in every shape of our economy, every shape of our social interactions with each other. And it's that reality that we've got to adjust and think through what it means for our businesses. And I've tried to segment that thinking into three kind of different ways of understanding how we look at it. How do we trade differently? How do we lead differently? And how do we manage businesses differently? So let's talk about the new essential ways of working that I believe we need to embrace in an AC, in an after-coronas world. Firstly, we very quickly begun to understand that the speed of the unfolding of the events around us, through from the early part of 2020 through to today, have meant we haven't been able to take decisions in the way that we used to. We haven't been able to have all the facts in front of us, because quite frankly, we're making things up as we go along. But we've needed to make quick decisions that fundamentally change the way in which we run our businesses. And as part of that, you've got to understand that decisions are things with which people can live. There is no time for long-winded steering committees, huge rounds of consensus gathering. Right now, no decision is worse than a bad decision. And for all businesses, we need to move on and create that clarity for our people, our customers, and our suppliers. But if you're going to make decisions quickly and understand that they are things with which you can live, then you've got to make sure that you have a framework around that that allows you to make those decisions sensibly and coherently over a period of time. And for me, in the heat of the battle over the past 5 or 6 months, this kind of hierarchy of needs has very quickly established itself. Firstly and critically, let's look after our staff, our employees. How do we pay people for as long as we possibly can? How do we look after their health? How do we ensure their safety when they're at work in the face of something that we've never had to manage before? Second, of course, come your customers. Without customers, we have no business. Third, come your shareholders and the people to whom you need to pay dividends. And finally, I'm afraid, and it's an uncomfortable reality, suppliers come last in the hierarchy that has worked for me and the businesses I've been looking after over the past few months. So if you're going to make decisions quickly, you need this hierarchy, this framework that guides the way in which you're proceeding. Staff, customers, shareholders, suppliers. Thirdly, you've got to understand that the new way of working is not the old way of working. And part of that is we don't have the space to continuously compete with each other, when right now, if we want our economy to survive, we need to think about how we collaborate to compete. In the real world, the South African economy is a rounding error. We are a very, very small part of the global pie. For as long as we compete with each other as we go through these difficult times, we are denying ourselves the opportunity to create new synergies in our economy to allow ourselves to compete globally. So how do we collaborate to compete? If you cast your minds back to the early days of the lockdown in late March and early April, we began to see some of the supermarkets coming together to share some of their supply chains and capability to ensure that we could be fed. There was a lot of back-end collaboration happening between large businesses to allow all of us to be able to eat and to allow those businesses to be able to survive. But there are other things that are not happening yet. Now, if I want to make a very simple and clear call, let's just think about data and connectivity. Never before has data and connectivity been more important to an economy. We're all living at work, remember, or working from home, whichever one you prefer. And that requires data and connectivity that we've never needed before. And yet what we've seen is the four major operators supplying that data and connectivity just trying to make more money. Why wasn't there the opportunity to collaborate, to compete, to permanently lower data and costs, as well as improve the resilience of that network when we needed it most? So how do we as small businesses collaborate to compete in an after-coronas world that allows us to be globally more competitive? Fourthly and critically is that your authenticity as a leader, the integrity that you show as a business outweighs the certainty. We have all of us had to make stuff up as we've gone along. None of us have been through this before. I speak as somebody who spent 30 years in large corporates. I've managed things like responses from a corporate perspective to the 9/11 bombings. I've managed responses to the July bombings in London. I've managed responses in a bank to the financial crisis of 2007, 2008, and nothing had ever prepared me for this before. I didn't have all the answers. It's not realistic for us to expect that any of us have a lot of the answers. But think about the way that your authenticity and integrity as a leader and as a business generates a new loyalty to your brand. And that will occasionally mean saying, sorry, we got it wrong. But we acted in the best interests of the people around us against that framework of staff, of customers, of shareholders and suppliers in the way that we thought that was right. And as the facts in front of you change, then so should your opinions and so should your course of action. We haven't got to slavishly adhere to doing the same thing in the same way. And that ambiguity at times is uncomfortable as business leaders, but something that we have to increasingly embrace. So for me, if you want to bring that together for the small business kind of payoff, number one, be thoughtful around this. You were probably already more prepared for this than the big corporates were. You were already, by definition, more agile, quicker to be able to respond to market shifts. You've got lower overheads. Now is the time actually to dial up and be brave. Faint hearts never won fair maiden. What are you doing to take the opportunity in front of you, the disruption and the acceleration in the economy that the coronavirus has caused? And how are you thinking about staying lean, keen and mean and taking the chances as they present themselves in a way that a lot of the large corporates can't because of their cumbersome nature, because of the size of their overhead and the way in which they operate and behave? Secondly, I want to talk about different ways of trading in a post-corona world. Firstly, I think critically for everyone, you need to pay as many people as you can for as long as possible. Now, this isn't some great big philanthropic kind of cause. If you cast your mind back to what Henry Ford was doing in the 1920s, he understood that he needed to pay his workers for enough and for long enough to be able to afford the product that he was making. Because if people didn't earn enough money to buy a car, he had no market. And in a similar way in South Africa, we need to make sure there's sufficient cash in the economy to consume the goods and services that we provide. So leaving aside it being the right thing to do, economically, it's also an absolute imperative. Now, that does not mean that we continue to pay people in the same way or as much as we used to, if that's not what we can afford to do. It may mean short-time working. It may mean more flexible approaches to productivity and performance-related pay, and. Your business will be different to anybody else's business. But as a principle in terms of the way that we trade, I believe that we need to pay as many people as we can for as long as possible for the good of the business and the good of the economy. Secondly, right now we're in a space where we need to manage for liquidity and survival. We're not managing for profit. That means we need to shift stock. We need to sell solutions. We need to keep momentum in the marketplace. We need to keep our brand and reputation going. That building that's been closed, it's got the broken windows. It's a dead building. It's an incredibly difficult place to reopen. It's an incredibly difficult place for people to have confidence in again. We've got to keep our businesses going. And therefore, we need to manage for liquidity and accept that maybe this year we don't take the dividend. We don't take the profit we've been used to. But our survival is dependent upon us making the right choices, and that survival in the future will allow us to return to a profit-making way of working. Thirdly, be very thoughtful about the legacy of your behavior in this time on the long-term future of both yourself and your business's brand. People will remember more what you have done and how you behaved right now than the products that you sold. How did you stand up to these challenges? How were you the consumer's champion? How were you the employee's champion? What is it that you have done that will leave an indelible mark on the nature and the brand and the image of your business in the future in a positive way? Your legacy will be how you've behaved, not what you did. Be very, very thoughtful around that. And finally, I think critically for small business, demand is a little bit like energy. It's transferred but rarely destroyed. Now, what do I mean around that? If we just take the way in which demand has very, very fluidly transferred over the past few months, it has been quite remarkable. Our commute to the office has been replaced by sitting down at the kitchen table and turning the laptop on. The demand for petrol has been replaced by the demand for data. Demand has been transferred. The way in which we've seen swirls in demand patterns as a consequence of lockdown behaviours imposed by restrictions we've never seen before. Just ask the logistics and the alcohol industries what happened on the 1st of June. A lot of those guys and girls will tell you that actually they've sold pretty much as normal in the first 6 months of the year, but in a massive spike. Demand has been transferred. It's increasingly like energy, and you've got to understand as a small business how you get ahead of that curve and find out where that demand is morphing to next and what you're going to do about it. But the more that we lock ourselves into a circle, a vicious circle of despair, thinking that everything is finished, there's no demand left, that's untrue. It's been transferred. We've got to go find it and fish in a different pond. You have to, in these times then, in terms of the payoff, strip down to what the core of your business actually is. What is it that you really do? What is your USP? What differentiates you? What made you excited when you started this business and you can rebuild from? Because now is the time for stripping back and rebuilding, focusing on liquidity and not profit. Make your stand now the defining moment for your brand. Make this a new reason for your consumers to believe in who and what you are. Make this a new reason for your employees and your financial backers to understand this is the new business that emerges in the AC world. And finally, you've got to watch that demand and the consumer patterns like a hawk. Don't sit back and allow things to be done to you. Own your destiny, take yourself forward, and really believe in the reincarnation of your business in an AC world with a passion and an energy and a bravery that nobody else will see coming. That is how a small business takes heart in these times and starts to change the way in which we work and behave and live. The third area I really want to talk around is what happens next. How do we get future fit for an after coronavirus world? This little diagram I've used a few times over the past few months, and the numbers have changed slightly, but the message is critically the same. If you go back to a BC world, the market capitalization of Zoom was around 20 billion. Where we sit today, about 40 billion. The market capitalization of the top US airlines has gone from 80 billion around to 40 billion. In other words, what you've seen is a switch in the market cap of three long-established industrial-age businesses to be smaller than a relatively latecomer when it comes to video conferencing capability that now has become a euphemism for the way in which we behave and talk to each other. We Zoom each other. It's become the Hoover to the vacuum cleaner. Now that switch in market cap, I believe, is irreversible. And how you make your business prepared for that new trend and that new pattern is absolutely critical. That is what is lockdown leadership right now. And first thing you've got to embrace is there is no getting back to normal. Ladies and gentlemen, the further you can distance yourself from your prior year trading patterns, the sooner you can stop talking about what you did last year, the sooner that you can stop comparing September 2020 volumes and trading patterns to September 2019, the more quickly you will move on. There is no getting back to normal. Embrace that reality and make it your friend. And secondly, because of that, you cannot build new ways of doing on those old ways of thinking. There's no point harping back on what made you successful in 2018 or 2019 when the rest of the world has changed. You are hanging on to what I call an experience overhead, and that experience overhead will cripple your business just like any overhead does if you don't look after it. You cannot afford the luxury of that experience overhead to influence the way in which you drive your business now. Thirdly, just as you're going to be different in the future, so are your customers. They're not behaving in the same way. They're not consuming goods and services in the same way. Just think about the contactless way in which we now even want to be able to receive the information on a menu in a restaurant. We're expecting there to be a QR code. We're expecting to be a completely different routine. Your digital agility in front of your customer will be absolutely critical. The fluidity of your thinking, the creativity that you have around the way in which you can create value for a customer has got to change because they have changed. And listen, we're talking right now about an AC world, about an after COVID-19 world. Well, I got news for you. There's going to be a COVID-21 and there's going to be a COVID-22. And what are you doing about that one already? So just as you will be different, everybody else is thinking that same thing too. What is it that you have changed? What has fundamentally become different? And finally, as a leader and as a small business right now, how you future-proof your business, how you're thinking forward is more critical than how you're thinking back and what used to make you successful. You've really got to dial up this investment in what the future of your business and how you compete in an AC world looks like. That's what lockdown leadership is. It's not about making sure that people can work from home safely. It's about making sure that you've got a business that can be successful moving forwards. So as to bring that together, then you cannot turn back, ladies and gentlemen. We are having to move forwards. We're having to focus very clearly on the horizon in front of us. The new normal doesn't exist. The most useless investment that I have made in 2020 was my wall planner in January. Nothing has played out as I expected it to this year, and don't expect 2021 to be any different. There isn't a new normal. There's just a different way of having to react and behave in front of the customer to make your products and solutions relevant. But you are more ready as small businesses than perhaps you realize. You're unencumbered by that overhead experience I've talked about. You're unencumbered by some of the decision-making processes that large businesses have. You're unencumbered by large groups of shareholders having to be managed all the way through this. Make this your time. Make this the time, the age when small businesses can reinvent the South African economy. And to do that, you've got to focus on just 3 things right now. Number 1, survive. Remember, you're trading for liquidity, you're not trading for profit. You're re-understanding what the core of your business is for and how it can be successful again. There will come a period when you can revive, and let's all hope that's sooner rather than later. And if you get those 2 things right, then how are you going to thrive in a BC world? That, for me, is the exam question we all need to be setting ourselves now. How have we survived? How do we make sure we revive? And how do we thrive in a way that we can collaborate to compete and create a stronger South African economy? For you see, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the past that is a foreign country. It's the future that is a foreign country. And they do things differently there. Thank you.
Now, viewers, welcome to the awards section. First, we'd like to introduce Catherine Weinberg, who's the CEO and founder of Fitola and co-founder of the Absa BusinessDay Supplier Development Awards with Cold Press Media and Arena Events. Catherine will do a short introduction to the awards announcement.
We live in a magnificent country, one that's filled with potential and with people whose dream it is to create a thriving, inclusive economy. And what we found in the past 3 years of the Absa BusinessDay Supply Development Awards is that the people and the companies who participate are those people who are passionate about not just doing it, but doing it right. And yet this year, COVID has thrown the whole world a giant curveball, and with many of the best laid plans for 2020 either shelved or totally scrapped. And if there's one thing it's taught us, is that we're dependent on each other. And rightfully so. And this is the situation being faced by suppliers and service providers in the supply chains that form the vital backbone of the South African economy. Every link is dependent on the next in the value chain. And COVID has reminded us that now is the most important time for us to be looking out for each other. The Absa BusinessDay Supplier Development Awards, hosted in partnership with Fitola, Cold Press Media, and Arena Holdings, encourages everyone to bridge the gap between suppliers and corporates in South Africa. The awards recognize best practice and encourage a collaborative ecosystem that lifts all ships as the tide of change comes in. As a country, we need now to focus not only on transformation, but on recovery and rebuilding of the economy under this additional threat of global economic disruption. This calls for a deliberate strategy, one that fosters collaboration in the ecosystem to strengthen supply chain and supplier resilience, to rethink and restructure value chains to maximize opportunities within South Africa, and to innovate in order to achieve competitive advantage and reignite growth. Supplier development presents the golden opportunity to do just this. And over the last 3 years, we've been really delighted by the support and overwhelming response to the Absa Business Day Supplier Development Awards. The quality of entries shows us that supplier development is being taken seriously by an increasing number of corporates who are passionate about not just doing it, but doing it right. And the winners showcased here today have shown commitment to building thriving, inclusive South African supply chains. They've embraced supply development as a long-term strategic priority and as a driver of competitive advantage. And they've found ways to foster industry collaboration and commit to best practice in the ecosystem. Join me now as we celebrate these leading businesses and shine a light on this year's winners and the runners-up. This year, we expanded both our advisory and judges panels and added wider experience and broader sector knowledge. These generous individuals gave freely of their expertise and wisdom, meeting numerous times both for review and discussion. These key influencers in the supplier development and sustainability space have provided their expertise and guidance, helping to ensure that the 2020 Absa Business Day Supplier Development Awards grow year on year and represent the very best of the sector. We thank you all for your contribution in making these awards a resounding success.
This year, we had a fantastic cohort of entrants of close to 40 semi-finalists. The following companies made it through as finalists to the judging session: Distal Group, Impact Group, EnviroServe Waste Management, Goodyear South Africa, Petro SA, SAB, Sasol, Spar Group Limited, Tiger Brands, Unilever South Africa, and the V&A Waterfront. The judging process and outcome has been reviewed by a team of analysts from BDO South Africa Incorporated. Let us start with the Newcomer Award. The Newcomer Award, sponsored by Absa, acknowledges companies for a strategic supply development program or project that has shown merit in design thinking, innovation, and commitment to growth. The runner-up for this category is awarded to Goodyear. With a very young program, Goodyear have been commended by the judges for the intentional strategy of developing a few suppliers, but deeply integrating them into the supply chain and walking a journey with them that derives mutual benefit and impact. With rigorous matrix for reporting, transparency in showing results, and very clear targets for growth, they may be a strong contender in the impact category in 2021. And the winner is the V&A Waterfront, Joy from Africa to the World program. The V&A Waterfront, who have over 250 SMME tenants and about 300 SMME suppliers, place huge emphasis on supply development and truly embed the concept of shared value in their operating model. It's because of this inspired, well-developed thinking that the judges felt confident that in years to come, this program will thrive and deliver. Youth Development Award. The Youth Development Award acknowledges companies who have exceptional results in supporting youth suppliers. The runner-up for this category is awarded to Tiger Brands. Congratulations, Tiger Brands. And the winner is Distal. Distal particularly showed merit in their approach in transforming the youth target market through a strong value chain focus, incorporating rural development initiatives, and in pushing the local manufacturing agenda. Between their Green Up Recycling and Banzela Taverna program, an estimated 320 jobs, who are largely youth, have been created. Well done, Distal. Black Women Development Award, sponsored by Cold Press Media. The Black Women Development Award acknowledges companies who have exceptional results in supporting Black women suppliers. The runner-up for this category is awarded to the V&A Waterfront. Congratulations, V&A. And the winner is the Impact Group. Transformation is deeply embedded in the Impact Group strategy, who actively aim to increase the amount and value of business allocated to Black women-owned suppliers in the supply chain. With 30% of their total procurement spend on SMMEs, of which 39% is with Black women-owned suppliers, they continue to show their commitment and have demonstrated impact with a targeted approach. Rural and Township Development Award. The Rural and Township Development Award acknowledges companies who have exceptional results in supporting rural and township-based suppliers. The runner-up for this category is awarded to Distal. Congratulations, Distal. And the winner is Spar Group Limited for their Spar Rural Hub program. The innovative Spar Rural Hub model, made up of 12 farmers and 122 hectares of vegetable production, supports small-scale farmers and creates markets for their products. It differentiates itself from other programs in that it addresses a systemic issue which can be scalable and duplicated across sectors. As deserving winners, this model could impact across all areas of economic transformation in the long run, improving food security and contributing positively to health and well-being in rural communities across South Africa. Skills of the Future 4IR Award is sponsored by Solu Growth. The Skills of the Future 4IR Award acknowledges companies who have exceptional results in supporting suppliers with leading-edge scarce 4IR skills. Let's take a look.
Solu Growth, we are the market leaders when it comes to technological transformational implementation using business process re-engineering services for our clients. We analyze, redesign and eradicate redundant processes in your business. Solu Growth applies business process mining when it comes to capturing every single process from any number of systems. This includes processes such as your order to cash, procure to pay, and complaint to resolution processes, giving us the ability to completely transform your business to perform at its optimal with reduced time and reduced cost. Please find us at www.solugrowth.com for your business transformation.
The runner-up of this category is awarded to Distal. Congratulations, Distal. And the winner is Unilever South Africa. Unilever are one of a few finalists who have showed a strong focus on supply chain innovation, implementing 4IR solutions for supply chains of the future and in meeting consumer and market demands. In particular, through their Isazi farming technology project, Unilever is providing technological solutions in the agriculture sector through the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. If funded well, these solutions could be scalable and could contribute to further impacts in the agricultural sector. Local Manufacturing Award. The Local Manufacturing Award acknowledges local South African manufacturers or value-add services and products with import substitution and/or export potential. The runner-up for this category is awarded to Tiger Brands. Congratulations, Tiger Brands. And the winner is the V&A Waterfront. The V&A Waterfront have successfully shown leadership in the ecosystem and built a socially inclusive business that both invests in local communities and leverages its own assets and resources to create new opportunities for the economically excluded. Boasting, in its first year, a spend of 336 million rand on small suppliers, representing 38% of their overall total procurement spend, an average spend of 1.1 million rand per small supplier. Their collaborative approach to working with various ecosystem players to deliver a unique program, tangible support to local makers, and promotion of market access for them locally and internationally make them worthy for this award. Collaboration Award, sponsored by Fitola. The Collaboration Award acknowledges companies for their strategic action to develop industry relationships and foster cross-sector collaboration for the benefit of the wider ecosystem. The success of any SD model is based on building, supporting, and forming strategic partnerships. This year, this category was hotly contested, so much so that a decision was made by the judges to award this category jointly to Distal and Tiger Brands. These brand owners articulated and illustrated their commitment to innovative cross-sector collaboration, active participation in learning and dialogue, growing the ecosystem of independent small suppliers beyond their own supply chain, and ensuring transformation and acceleration of the SME landscape to support our much-needed economic recovery and reignite growth in our country. Congratulations. Small Supplier Award in partnership with CEDA. The runner-up for this category is awarded to Goodyear. Congratulations, Goodyear. And the winner is SAB. SAB impressed the judges with their mature approach, leadership and authenticity in the promotion of small suppliers in their entrepreneurial ecosystem, and their deliberate strategy to protect the long-term success and profitability of small suppliers, especially in vulnerable rural and women-led organizations over this post-COVID period with their suppliers. Impact Award, sponsored by BusinessDay. The Impact Award acknowledges a company whose supplier development initiatives have substantially impacted the value chain. The runner-up for this category is awarded to Distal. Congratulations, Distal. And the winner is Tiger Brands. Tiger Brands expertly articulated and provided evidence of the scale and impact of their program, including transparency in results against a mature set of matrix of success. This is an excellent demonstration of how an SD program with intention, using their extensive influence and sizable position in the market, could impact across all areas of economic transformation, public-private collaboration, and nation building. And for this, they are deserved winners of the Impact Award. Overall winner, sponsored by Absa South Africa. The overall winner is a discretionary award for the company that stands out as the leader in supply development in South Africa and will be an ambassador for the awards in 2020. And now, for a word from our sponsor.
Let's bring it. Let's bring our can-dos, our won't-back-downs, and all that we've got this that we've got. And let's do this. Let's feed the stomachs and the souls of our people. Show the front line that we've got their back, and ensure that testing is not a privilege, but a right, because we can bring anything if we bring it together.
The runner-up for this category is awarded to Distal. Congratulations, Distal. And the winner is SPAR Group Limited. SPAR's purpose-driven strategy addresses real South African challenges such as food security, nutrition, job creation, and transformation. In particular, the judges were impressed by their recognition of the transformative potential of purpose and the effort to position it within the company and the operating model to achieve greater integration. The authenticity and innovative nature of the SPAR Rural Hub model, which shows merit and impact on the ground in transforming rural farming communities, their effort in addressing barriers to growth, their commitment to collaborative action through the partnership formed, and their evidence presented in support of long-term supply development success. SPAR Group Limited are actively pursuing higher levels of innovation, efficiency opportunities, and value partnerships, and thus are deserved winners of the title of Overall Winner. We look forward to seeing this initiative grow and scale nationally and toward bolder investment in this initiative in the future. Well done to all the winners of the 2020 Absa BusinessDay Supplier Development Awards. This brings us to the end of today's program. Thank you very much for being part of this showcase and joining us today. We encourage you to look out for the digital publication that will be available online in the next few days. The publication contains more information on what gives our winning programs their edge, and a summary benchmark report with interesting insight into supply development in South Africa today, alongside excellent thought leadership articles. The Absa BusinessDay Supplier Development Awards team will inform you when it is ready. If you have not yet watched any of our online discussions, please visit sdawards.co.za. Enjoy the rest of your day, and let's keep this network buzzing.